Hey everyone, I'm back with another Twilight fanfiction audiobook. Today's story is, What If Bella Was Always Meant to Be Sam's? Before we begin, welcome to Renesmee. This channel is all about unexpected Twilight crossovers, long story series, and worlds filled with romance, adventure, and fantasy. If you love listening to audiobooks at night while falling asleep, make sure to subscribe. Now, put on your headphones, and let's get started. Our legends have told us the Alpha will imprint only when all danger is gone. He will remain steadfast and alone so he may lead without distraction. We always believed Jacob Black was destined to be Alpha due to his lineage, but today we discovered that to be untrue. Billy shared with the people gathered at the bonfire. Gasps were heard all around as a young woman walked with Jacob toward the group. All eyes turned to Bella, worried about how she would take losing someone else she was close to. She smiled at them in the soft way she had. "I'm fine, guys. I was with him when he imprinted on her. Meet Angela, she's one of the only friends I have at school." The pack breathed out in relief. Jared held onto Kim as Paul pulled Emily close. "Does this mean Sam is the true Alpha?" Embry asked. Old Quill nodded. "Yes. Samuel will be gifted his imprint when the danger has passed." Sam sat up straight and looked around at his pack, his family. "We have the red head to deal with, we will get her. She's threatening one of our own, that is unacceptable to me." All eyes fell on Bella again, as Angela reached out and grasped her hand. Bella squeezed her fingers in gratitude. She knew what she was about to suggest wouldn't go over well, but she had already discussed it with Jake, and Angela agreed with her. I have an idea about how to draw her out." Sam turned to look at her. "How? She's after me, right?" "No, Bella," Sam growled. "I'm not saying use me, but use my scent. We pick a place that will work for you guys to set a trap using some of my clothes and maybe some of my blood to bring her where you want her." "It's a good idea, Sam." Jacob backed her up. "I would have thought you would be more against this than any of us, Jake." "I was, but her idea has merit. Plus Aang agrees with her. Man, imprinting changed you." Embry laughed, before getting clocked in the back of his head by Leah. "Ow, damn it, woman, watch what you say," she growled. She turned back to the elders with a grin on her face. Sam shook his head and looked back at Bella. "Okay, suppose we try this. How would you not lead her right to where you are?" Bella smiled. "If the leeches smell terrible to you, I'm betting you smell just as bad to them. One of you could mask my scent. I would leave my trail, but one of you could carry me away to a safe place." Sam looked around at his pack brothers and then to the elders. Billy, Harry and Old Quill nodded at him. "Okay, when would you do this?" Bella looked down at her feet. "Angela and I graduate in 2 days. I say we do it this weekend. That way we can enjoy the summer before I leave." "Leave?" Kim jumped up. Bella looked at her friend. "Yeah, I'm heading to school as soon as Sam says it's safe." But Kim started. "I'll be back," Bella promised. "This is my home and you guys are my family." Sam stared into the fire, thinking about Bella leaving. He would miss her. She had become an unexpected member of his little band of wolves and imprints. She wasn't an imprint, but that didn't mean she mattered any less. He sighed and looked up at her. "All right, we'll try this your way. Saturday morning one of us will pick you up and take you to a planned location and you can stink it up. Then we'll hide you somewhere safe." Bella nodded and kept her eyes on his. "Thanks, Sam." Bella walked across the stage and received her diploma, with shouts and cheers coming from the crowd. The whole pack had come out to see her and Angela graduate. She grinned and blushed as she took her seat. She didn't think when the Cullens left she would get to this point. She'd missed so much school when she'd gone into her self-isolation. With the help of Angela and the pack, she had caught up and was graduating with top marks. She would soon be headed to college in Seattle. First, the vampire. True to his word, Sam sent Jared to get her on Saturday morning. He made sure she packed a bag of stuff to do as well as whatever she was planning to spread around. Sam said we're gonna go to a clearing he found. Once we're there, do your thing so I can get you out of there, okay? I will, Jared. Jared walked with her to a certain point and then pointed her to where she needed to be. What she was unaware of was the pack all stationed nearby. Sam was worried something would go wrong. They all cared about Bella and wanted to make sure she was safe. She walked into the open field and started putting her dirty clothes around, hiding them in bushes and up in the tree branches. She then pulled out her old pocket knife and made a shallow cut in her palm. She walked around touching leaves and tree trunks. Come on, Bella, Jared groaned. He felt she was going overboard. Finally, she was satisfied and walked to where Jared could grab her and run her to safety. She held on as he took her to the safe house Sam had assigned Colin, Brady and Seth to guard. Get inside and don't come out until Sam, Paul or I come for you. Okay, I won't. Please be careful, Jared. All of you. She turned and went into the house and shut and locked the door. Jared looked at the 3 wolves before him. You don't leave, no matter what. He phased and took off, praying this worked. Sam and the others were positioned all around the field when they caught the first scent. He growled, Ed for them to remain in position until they saw the red head. Jesus, Sam, there are 10 that I can see. Jacob, don't move until we see red. I see her. Jared, get ready. The other vampires were fighting amongst themselves anywhere Bella's scent was strongest. Some were even ripping each other apart. Stop it, you fools. Victoria hissed. Find the human. Now. The wolves came out of their hiding places and attacked. They kept their minds silent and ran purely on instinct. Before long it was only Victoria facing off against Jared and Paul. Sam was ripping her partner apart while she hissed. Where is she? She will pay for what she's done to me. Jared lunged and she fainted to the left, but Paul was ready and had her arm in his mouth, ripping it off before she could escape. No. Jared got a hold of her leg and was pulling as Sam jumped from behind, his jaws clasping around her head and pulling it free. When she dropped to the ground, he phased. Paul and Jared joined him to collect the still twitching parts. Light the fire, Sam ordered, while he looked at Embry and Jacob. Run a perimeter check for any we missed. The rest of us will gather the parts. For 20 minutes, the pack picked up all body parts and watched as the purple smoke billowed to the sky. Jacob and Embry came back and phased. We didn't find anything else. Embry reported. I guess this means Bells is safe and can leave. Jacob muttered. You heard what she said, Jake. Quill laid his hand on his shoulder. She'll be back. I know. Aang and I are just gonna miss her. We'll all miss her, Jacob, she's family. Sam told him. Let's go get her and tell her the good news. 5 years later, Sam sat with his pack and laughed at the antics of the younger wolves. It had been 5 years since they had defeated the largest group of vampires to come to the area since the Cullens. Bella had spent the summer with them and then left for college. They had only seen her on her holiday breaks. Charlie and Sue had gone to Seattle 2 days ago to see her graduate. When Harry had passed away suddenly, Sue had been heartbroken and Charlie had been there for her. It was a year and a half before the pair realized they felt more for each other than friendship. With the blessing of Leah and Seth, the two began dating and Charlie had been let in on the pack secret. Sam hadn't seen 2 people more proud Han Charlie and Sue as they went to see and bring back Bella. He and the pack were proud of her too and they couldn't wait until she came home. In the last 5 years, things have been calm. There were a couple rogue vampires that came through, but nothing to the extent of before. Sam had let his pack go down to one-man patrols, allowing for more free time. They were able to get jobs, attend school and go on dates. Sam felt as though something was missing in his life. Yes, he was employed, running his construction company with Jared and Paul. He had the pack, his brothers, and they were always around in some form. Emily made sure he was fed, although he tried never to be alone with her. He had all that, but he was lonely. He had yet to meet his imprint and he was growing impatient. He didn't T want to phase forever, and at 25 he was ready to settle down and start a family. Penny for your thoughts. Kim sidled over to him. Just watching. How are you, Kimmy? I'm just waiting for my friend. I can't wait until she gets here. Bella was heading home, and the bonfire was her graduation and homecoming party. Sue just texted, they'll be here in 5 minutes. Jacob announced. Wall. F howls rang through the air as they all got excited for their missing pack sister. Headlights sliced through the darkness as Charlie pulled in and parked his SUV. They could hear Bella complaining about the fuss they were making. Dad, she groaned as she got out of the car. Welcome home, chorused from those gathered around the fire. Bella looked over at her friends and was instantly smiling and walking toward them. Kim and Angela got to her first, the three of them squealing and hugging. I figured I'd come home to see one of you pregnant with the first pack pup. Bella laughed. Yeah, that was another story we discovered. Kim started, although Bella could see the skepticism on her face. It's said no pups will be conceived until the alpha finds his mate. Angela continued. We thought it was strange. But it makes sense in a way. Kim finished. I guess. I would love to get my hands on all those old scrolls and actually put them in some semblance of order to make these legends and stories come together at one time. Bella smiled as she was led toward the guys and Leah. Jacob was the first to hug her. Welcome home, Bells. Thanks, Jake. It's good to be back. She was pulled T. O. Embry and Quill next, who hugged her until she couldn't breathe. Careful, you'll break my ribs, she laughed. Sorry, Bells. It's okay, I missed you too. Continuing with her greetings, she stopped in front of Leah. How are you, La? I'm doing good. I met someone. Really? Tell me. Bella smiled, happy for her friend. Later, I promise. You still have some hugs to pass out. Bella. The younger three ran to her. Boys. She went from one to the next. How are my boys? Seth, Colin and Brady started talking at once, causing her to laugh. Okay, calm down. We have time to catch up. I'm back to stay. You better be, kitten. Hall said over her shoulder. Don't make me smack you again, Lahote. Bella turned to hug him. You wouldn't dare. Bella grinned at him. Nah. I might sprain my wrist again. Jared laughed. You'd have to put that fancy nursing degree to work. Hush, Jelly Bean. Jared grabbed her, making her squeal. What have I told you about calling me that? To do it all the time, she laughed. I'll get you. All right, Jared, leave the poor girl alone. Sam said. Bella turned to give him a hug, but when their eyes met, they both froze. I'll be damned, Jared whispered. It's about time, Hall added. Bella was lost in his dark brown eyes. Did you just? Sam could only nod. Wow, Sam continued to stare at her, taking in every feature. From the way her porcelain skin flushed with her blush, to her full bottom lip as she pulled it into her mouth with her teeth. Her brown eyes were mesmerizing, and he was the lucky one who would get to look into them for the rest of their lives. A booming voice broke them from their reverie. Yuli, did you just imprint on my daughter? Sam looked away from Bella, his imprint, and to the face of her father. Yes, Charlie, I did. Bella is the mate to the alpha. Billy exclaimed from where he was sitting. No wonder you hadn't imprinted, Sam, she wasn't here. What a wonderful day. Everyone started talking at once, all excited that Bella was now a permanent part of the family. Quiet, Sam growled. Once everyone had settled, he looked around the group. Remember, Bella still has a choice here. She doesn't have to accept the imprint. Bella looked at Sam and remembered back to when he found her after Edward had abandoned her in the woods. She had been fascinated by him from that day. She had thought about him more often than she felt she should have, considering he could have imprinted at any time. She had changed in her time away and she was sure he had to, but she couldn't deny fate. Licking her lips, of course I accept it, Sam. Everyone looked at Bella. What? I've heard the legends enough times to know what could happen to a wolf with a rejected imprint. I'm not gonna be responsible for that, especially not to the alpha. Having said that, Sam, I've been gone for 5 years. I'm not jumping into bed with you. We need to get to know each other again and we'll take it from there. Sam nodded. I agree. He wrapped an arm around her shoulder, pulling her to his side. The need for physical contact was an imperative he couldn't deny. Sorry, I just need to be close. It's okay, Sam, I remember everything about the need for touch. She wrapped her arm around his waist and snuggled in close. As they settled around the fire, ready to hear the legends once more, no one noticed the angry glare directed at Bella and Sam. A glare coming from someone who had no business being angry about their imprint, as she had one of her own. Sam rolled over and looked at the clock beside his bed, groaning at the time. 5 in the morning meant he needed to go relieve Paul from patrol and then they had to get to work. He heard a sound in his kitchen and sniffed before rolling his eyes. Getting out of bed, he pulled on his shorts and a shirt. Before walking out of the room, he looked around and couldn't wait for Bella to start making his place their home. He smiled thinking of his imprint, but grimaced when he walked around the corner. This had to stop. Emily, he growled, I told you to stop coming over here like this. I don't need you taking care of me, you should be at home waiting for Paul. How'd you even get in here? The dark-haired girl smiled up at him. I wanted to. You need someone to take care of you. She continued flipping pancakes and plating them, ignoring his question. It's not like your imprint is here. He heard her mutter under her breath. Sam was taken aback at the way she spoke of Bella. He thought they were friends. Emily. Emily placed her hands on the counter and shook her head. Sorry. I love Bella. You know I do. I was just shocked that she didn't jump in with both feet. Kim and I did. Sam was immediately suspicious. Emily had been pulling out all the ops to get with him before Paul imprinted on her, and lately she seemed to be up to her old tricks. He took the plate she offered him, but refused to eat anything on it. You and Kim didn't have your H.E.arts ripped out of your chests like she did either. I'm not upset about her decision, I like that she wants to take it slow. I mean, she and I have our whole lives to be together. Sam's phone buzzed on the counter and he grabbed it. Seeing a new text, he smiled when he saw it was from Bella. Morning. Well, sort of. I just wanted to tell you to have a good patrol and good day at work. Maybe we can meet for lunch. B. Morning. You should go back to sleep, though. I'll text you about lunch. I'm not sure what we have on the schedule today. S. Okay. Back to Sleepy Town. Winking face B. Sam chuckled and put his phone down. Emily, have a good day. He dismissed her, but didn't move until he knew she had left. He put his head in his hands and thought about her recent behavior. Standing, he took the plate she'd made him and tossed it in the trash. He grabbed a couple microwavable breakfast sandwiches, threw them in and thought about calling Leah. She was the only one other person he could talk to about the situation with Emily. But it would have to wait until later. After scarfing down the sandwiches in a few bites, he locked up his house, walked to the woods and phased. He and Paul exchanged greetings before he phased out and Sam ran the perimeter, stretching out farther than the old treaty line. He made his way through the woods and found himself outside of Bella's house. He sat down and just breathed in the scent of his imprint. His wolf was content. He finished his patrol when Embry phased in, went home and got ready for work. Throwing on a pair of old jeans, a t-shirt, and his boots, he was walking into the living room when Paul and Jared walked in. Ready? Jared asked. Let me grab my phone and we can go. Sam picked up his phone off the counter and noticed he had a missed message. Hey, I'm gonna have to pass on lunch. I just got a call for an interview. Wish me luck. B. Sam quickly texted her back and then followed Jared and Paul out to his truck. Bella drove to the clinic in La Push so she could meet with the doctor on staff and the head of the nursing department, who happened to be Sue, as well as human resources. She hadn't told Sam her interview was in La Push because she wanted to surprise him. She parked her dad's rarely driven car and went inside the building. She was greeted by Sue's smiling face. Morning, Bella, thanks for coming. Sue put her arm around her and led her forward. This is actually all a formality, the job is already yours. What? Bella was stunned. I hope you didn't stick your neck out for me or anything, Sue. Of course not. Doc Redfeet, her has been on the lookout for a qualified nurse practitioner for a few years. He already spoke with your school, the head of the department gave you a glowing recommendation, as well as the hospital where you worked while finishing your degree. Plus Billy, Old Quill and I have sung your praises. She followed Sue into the conference room and smiled at the two people waiting for her. Good morning, Miss Swan. I am Dr. Redfeather. Bella reached out her hand. Nice to meet you. Have a seat. Once Bella was settled, he continued, I'll be honest, this meeting is simply a formality. You come. Highly recommended, and I know from your school that you have an excellent work ethic. We would like for you to join our staff within the next week. How does that sound? Wow, I don't know what to say. Thank you, Doctor, for this opportunity. The only issue we have is your address. We require all of our staff to live on the reservation. Oh, well, I can understand that. I'll figure something out as soon as possible. Great. Dr. Redfeather smiled. Well, as today is Monday, how about starting next Monday? That will give you a week to make arrangements and get settled. Bella smiled. I look forward to it. Thank you. Sue took Bella on a tour and they stopped at the HR office to fill out her paperwork. You can use my address until you talk to Sam, Bella. Bella looked at Sue gratefully. How did you know? You're the imprint of our Alpha, Bella. It's my duty and privilege to give you a place, even temporarily. Thanks, Sue. I'll see you later. Bella walked out of the clinic and drove Charlie's car to the beach. She parked and walked to a piece of driftwood she found and sat for a little while, letting the breeze wash over her and the heat warm her chilled skin. Finally, her hunger got to her and she decided to go to the diner on the res. When she walked in, she saw Leah and smiled. Hey. Leah grinned at her as she sat down at a table. Hey, do you have a break anytime soon? Leah looked around and nodded. Yeah, I can take my break. You want something? Whatever you're having is fine. Leah came back 5 minutes later with 2 plates, each with a burger and fries. Behind her was another waitress who set down 2 drinks and walked away. So, tell me about this guy you met. Bella started. First, there's something else we need to talk about. Leah put a fry in her mouth. Sam. Bella cocked her head to the side. What about him? You know he and I used to be together, right? She nodded. Yeah, before he phased, if I remember correctly. I never heard what happened though. Emily happened. Bella. What? She's with Paul. He imprinted on her. Yeah, but that was after she did everything she could to break us up. Sam and I figured out what she was up to pretty quickly. But she had done enough damage and caused enough doubt by that point, we broke up anyway. Once she got what she wanted, she began to pursue Sam, romantically. Sam avoided her as bees. He could and was lucky she had to go home to her parents in Nia Bay. She came back though and started up again, but Paul had phased by then and imprinted on her. Jesus, Leah. Does Paul know what she was up to? Leah shook her head. Sam is really good at hiding his thoughts and he taught me so I couldn't reveal anything either. She took a bite of her burger and looked at Bella thoughtfully. The imprint hasn't stopped her, Bella. Bella choked on her soda. What? Have you ever watched her at pack functions? She's always eyeing Sam, giving him longing looks. Before you guys imprinted, Sam avoided being alone with her. He and I even acted as if we were getting back together just so he had a buffer. Then I met Andrew and imprinted on him. Why are you telling me this, Leah? I want you to watch your back, Bella. Yours and Sam's. If I'm right, Paul is gonna end up hurt and maybe you and Sam, or worse. I'll keep an ear out, but you need to be with Sam. Leah. Bella trailed off. I don't mean like that. I know you're not ready. Just move in with him. Be his roommate and friend for now. Get to know him like you want. But you being there will protect both of you. It will be your house. You can dictate who comes and goes. It will keep her away. From what you're telling me, it might also make her go a little crazy. Leah shrugged. Maybe a lot, but at least she'll be found out. Bella pulled up in front of Sam's after her enlightening lunch with Leah. She got out and sat down on the porch swing hanging from one of the beams. She pulled out her phone and decided to call him. She knew it was early, but she needed to see him. Hello. Hey, it's me. You got a second? Yeah, hang on. Bella heard some rustling and murmured voices before he came back on the line. Hey, you okay? Not really. I'm at your house. Bella, what's going on? She sighed. I had an interview this morning, it went well. I sat on the beach for a bit after it was over and then I had lunch with Leah. Fuck, Sam, I think we need to talk about this. She heard something in the background before his voice came back. Okay, stay there, I'll be there as soon as I can. He disconnected and Bella sat back, swaying in the breeze. 10 minutes after they'd hung up, Sam sauntered out of the forest, buttoning his jeans. He'd phased as soon as he told Paul and Jared something was up and ran home. He walked up his porch steps and found Bella, swaying back and forth. Are you okay? She shrugged. I don't know. She looked up at him. She's my friend, Sam, or at least I thought she was. TKN. Now that she is deliberately hurting her own imprint and trying to get to you, I'm worried. Sam knelt down in front of her and took her hands. Bella, I have you now. You and I will figure this out. Bella smiled at him. Well, I have one solution. Sam stood and then sat beside her on the swing. What's that? I told you I had an interview this morning. At his nod she continued, I got a job at the res clinic. Sam smiled and wrapped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her to his side. That's great, honey. Bella snuggled into his side. There's just one requirement. She looked up at him. I have to live on the res. Are you going to move in with Charlie and Sue then? He was excited at the prospect of her being closer. Bella grinned at him. Well, what if I moved in here? What do you think? Sam was stunned, but inside his wolf was doing the Snoopy dance. His mate was suggesting she move into his den. I say let's go get your stuff. Sam, I'll be staying in one of the other rooms for now. Sam smiled at her and reached out a hand, pushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. I know, but my wolf is dancing right now. He's happy his mate will be in his den. And what about the man? The man is thrilled too. Bella, the more time we spend together, the faster we will get to know one another again. We have our whole lives ahead of us, honey. I can wait as long as you need. 3 hours later, all of Bella's stuff was at Sam's and she was setting up things in the guest room. Sam had helped her carry in her books and kitchen things, and was unpacking those while she was upstairs. Hey, Bella. Yeah. Bella came to the top of the stairs. Do you want me to add your books to mine on the shelves? I have a lot of books, Sam, she giggled. Do you have room? Sam rolled his eyes, but smiled at her. Yes, I'll be down in a minute. Bella grinned and finished up her room. She wasn't sure how things were gonna work, especially since her room was across the hall from his. But she was willing to do anything to keep Emily from hurting her mate. She bounded down the stairs and walked into the living room. Sam had put out the pictures she had, some of her with the pack, with the imprints. And with her dad. She realized there were none with her and Emily, which made her happy, but there were also none with her and Sam. We need some pictures of us, she said offhand. Sam walked up behind her and put his hands on her waist. We'll get some, honey. We have time. Bella leaned back into him, enjoying his warmth. She sighed after a moment and walked toward the kitchen. I'm gonna start dinner. You want a beer? Sure. You need any help? He offered. No, you go relax, I've got this. She handed him a beer and smiled when he pressed his lips to her hair. Thanks. Sam put on a movie and nursed his beer, relaxing in the knowledge that he wasn't alone for the first time in a while. Soon the smells coming out of the kitchen were making his mouth water and his stomach growl. Geez, Sam, I heard that in here. Bella laughed. Sorry, it's been a long time since anyone has cooked here. Sam got up and walked to the kitchen, leaning against the counter. Emily has been bringing me food. But that doesn't count in my opinion. I wish she wouldn't bother. I'm not helpless. That shit stops now, Sam. Bella looked at him. We may not be together in every sense, but this is my house. She's not welcome, unless she's with Paul. I agree. He thought about that morning, how she was in his house, but didn't know how she'd gotten in. He would have to check with the pack about their keys. It was time to change the locks and not let anyone but Bella have access to their house. Bella plated their food and the two of them went to the table. They were just starting to talk when there was a knock on the door. Is that? Bella asked him. Probably, Sam sighed. I'll get rid of her. No. Bella stopped him and stood up. Let me. She walked over to the door and looked through the peephole. Taking a deep breath, she pulled the door open enough to peek through. Hello, Emily. Paul isn't here. Can I help you with something? Emily was stunned to see Bella before her and narrowed her eyes. I was bringing Sam some dinner. What are you doing here? Bella smiled at her. I live here. She watched the woman before her narrow her eyes further until they were just slits. Thanks for thinking of him, but Sam and I are having dinner right now together. Oh, well, I can just put this in the fridge for him for later. Emily moved to come in the door, but Bella blocked her way. Oh, that's okay. Take it home to Paul. I'll be making sure Sam is well taken care of from now on. Bella couldn't help the innuendo in her words and smiled acidly at woman she had once thought was her friend. He is mine after all. Go home, Emily. Bella closed the door, but didn't miss the look of outrage that crossed Emily's face. She walked back to the table and sat down, looking at Sam. She's gonna cause problems, Sam. What are we gonna do? Sam reached across the table and took her hand. We are going to ignore her for now. Bella, we will deal with this. Right now I want to focus on us. 20 questions. Sam smiled and nodded. They kept the conversation light for the rest of their dinner and through the cleanup. They waited until they were in living room to get into the deep stuff. Tell me about the Cullens. Sam asked. Bella sighed and leaned back on the couch, stretching her legs out over top of his thighs. She smiled when his warm hands began massaging her calves. The Cullens gave me something I'd never had before, a family. When my mom left Charlie, taking me with her, I lost my chance at that. Mom is eccentric and still very much a child herself. By the time I was 7, I was doing all the cooking and making sure the bills were paid. I had to make cleaning and grocery shopping a game just to get her to participate. Things were better when she met Phil. He took care of her and I was able to be a teenager for a while. I realized I was missing out with my dad, so I came here. Charlie didn't need me though. He'd been a heller so long he didn't know what to do with a teenage daughter. The Cullens, mostly Edward and Alice, took advantage of that and molded me into the perfect girlfriend, sister, and daughter. That's why when they left me I was so devastated. Sam was stunned. He had no idea it was like that for her growing up. Our backgrounds are very similar. My dad took off when I was 2 and my mom drank away the pain of his absence. When Tiffany turned up, pregnant with Embry, she drank even more to deal with that betrayal. She finally drank herself to death. By the time I was 19 she was gone. Bella looked at him sadly and leaned forward to hug him. I'm sorry, Sam. He breathed in her scent for a moment before pulling away. Okay. This turned way too serious. He looked at the clock and realized how late it was. One more and then I think we should call it a night. Okay, I'll go. Bella looked him in the eye. How many women have you been with? I know about Leah, so other than her. There have been 2 other than her. I tried dating while you were at school. I wasn't very interested and it was more to scratch an itch. I was never disrespectful, but nothing ever happened beyond that with them. I haven't been with anyone in a year. How about you? There was one guy the first dated in college, no one since him, and that was 3 years ago. And before you ask, I never slept with Edward. He could barely kiss me. I wasn't going to ask, but that's honestly a relief to me and my wolf. He glanced at the clock again. We should turn in. I've got early patrol and then work. Bella nodded. Together they turned off lights and made sure the doors were locked. Sam followed her up the stairs, trying to keep his eyes off her ass, but failing. At her doorway, he stopped her. I'm glad you're here, Bella. Bella smiled and stood on her tiptoes to kiss his cheek. Me too. Night, Sam. Night. Emily was tearing apart her kitchen, throwing and breaking things. She was grateful Paul was on patrol. She didn't need him finding out she didn't want him. She wanted Sam, had wanted him since she'd met him when she was 16. She had done everything she could to break him and Leah up. When she'd finally succeeded, he had disappeared. She'd been on the Macaw reservation with her family when he'd come back, so she hadn't been able to see him. When she finally did make it back, he had Chan. Jeed and was hanging around Jared and Paul. She'd come back and was hanging on his every word, trying to get him to see her as more than Leah's cousin. She even thought if she started flirting with his friends, perhaps he'd notice her. That plan had completely backfired when Paul had imprinted on her. She knew she had to accept so she could stay around the one wolf she really wanted. She had been Jew. Saint about to carry out her plan when Bella had come back and Sam imprinted on her. She was silently thrilled when they decided to take it slow and Bella wouldn't be moving in right away. She'd had it planned out to seduce him that evening, when Bella opened the door. Arg, what was she doing there? Emily threw a glass at the wall in frustration. Sam should be mine. Emily continued her tirade, not knowing there were two wolves nearby listening intently. Bella woke when Sam left for his morning patrol, put on her yoga pants and a t-shirt, donned her tennis shoes and took off for a jog down First Beach. She'd taken to running when she was in college. It helped clear her mind. Back then, she had used the time to reflect on her life and figure out what she wanted after graduation. She'd always known she would come back. But Sam was a factor she hadn't counted on. His imprint was definitely welcome, as she could admit to herself she'd always had some feelings for him. Emily was a prob, lem she would have never thought existed. As she pounded the sand, she thought back over the years and remembered every pack gathering she had attended. She could clearly remember the way Emily followed Sam with her eyes in. When Paul was on patrol, the way she was always attached to his side. She felt bad for the wolf who had become her brother, the one who had hated her at first, until she'd stood up to him. Bella's slap had earned not only the man's respect, but also his wolf's. With her mind clear, she jogged back to her house and did her cool-down stretches while drinking a bottle of water. Once she was happy, she went upstairs and took a shower, taking the time to dry her hair before pulling on her jeans and tank top. She padded down the stairs in her bare feet and into the kitchen to start breakfast. Bella was just pulling the sausages from the skillet when Sam came in from his patrol. He looked at her and smiled, still not used to someone being around. Hey, she smiled at him. Hey, what are you doing up? Bella shrugged. When I was in school, I went for a jog every morning. This morning I jogged down First Beach. It was so peaceful. Sam smiled at her. Well, maybe when the patrol schedule changes next week, I can join you. I'd like that. Bella moved to start the pancakes. Go get showered and ready for work. This will be finished when you're out. He couldn't resist, so he walked over and wrapped his arms around her waist, pressing his lips to her temple. Thank you. Bella leaned back into his chest. Get used to it, Sam. She turned her head and kissed the underside of his jaw. I love having someone to cook for and take care of. Until we have kids, you're it. Sam closed his eyes, his lips still on her skin, and sighed. She had no idea how much what she just said affected him. He walked away before he did something he would regret later and headed toward the shower. Bella smiled, knowing she had said something right. It had only been one day and evening, but she could feel she was meant to be there. Sam finished his shower and was walking into the kitchen as Bella was plating their food. Pancakes, eggs, sausage and bacon, enough to feed an army. As he was sitting down, he saw a few plates on the back of the stove, covered in foil. Are you expecting company? She smiled and brushed her hand over his shoulder as she set a plate before him on the table. You never know when a pack mate will show up. She had just set her plate down when there was a knock at the door. I swear, Sam, if that's... It's Leah. He cut her off with a sniff. Bella walked to the door and let Leah in. Morning. Are you hungry? Leah shrugged. I could eat. The pair of them walked around the corner. I need to talk to you, Sam. Sam became alpha before Bella's eyes. Problem. Possibly. Leah looked up as Bella set a plate before her. Thanks, Bells. Vamp. Leah shook her head and narrowed her eyes at him. Ah, okay. Bella sat beside Sam and started her own breakfast. When there was another knock on the door, she started to stand but he stopped her. I'll get it, babe. Eat. If she noticed the endearment she said nothing and Sam made no other mention of it. He walked to the door and found Paul and Jared on the other side. We need to talk. Sam nodded and let them inside. Come on. They all headed into the kitchen where Sam resumed his seat. Bella looked at Paul and Jared and smiled. There are plates on the back of the stove for you. How do you know we were coming? I didn't, she shrugged. I just made extra. Bella finished her food and took her plate to the kitchen. She was filling the sink with water when she looked up and out the window. You've got to be fucking kidding me, she murmured. Shaking her head, she gripped the counter in front of her. Sam, come here please. Sam walked into the kitchen and placed his hands on her shoulders. She pointed out the window and they watched as Emily walked toward his house. Another casserole dish in her hands. Dressed in a short skirt and tight top. Sam growled deep in his chest. Bella felt the vibration in her back and it sent a shiver down her spine. Paul, have you seen Emily today? No, why? Paul asked as he walked into the kitchen with his empty plate. Sam nodded out the window and Paul growled darkly at the sight of his imprint, dressed the way she was and heading to his alphas. I am so sick of this shit. Is this what we need to talk about? Sam wanted to know as they turned from the window. Sam, Paul started. I think something is wrong with my imprint. My wolf hates her and I am in agreement. I've literally had to stay away from her so he won't hurt her. Plus, he looked down in embarrassment. She calls out your name in her sleep and she's done it once or twice when we were having sex. I've never been compelled to mark her like Jared is with Kim, or Jake with Angela. A knock stopped all conversation. No one moved to the door and all looked at each other. Okay. Bella started toward the door. I've already had enough of this shit. She pulled open the door a little and stared at the scantily clad woman before her. Emily, what can I do for you this morning? Oh, Bella, you're still here, Emily said sarcastically. I live here, Emily. Well, I just made some breakfast for Sam and wanted to bring it by. Bella stood up straight and narrowed her eyes. I've already made him breakfast, as well as Leah, Jared and Paul. You remember him, right? Your imprint. She crossed her arms. Why don't you worry about your own man? Mine is just fine, Emily smirked. I've been taking care of Sam for the last 5 years now. I've been here for him in ways you haven't. I'm what he needs, a woman, not a mousy child. Bella was stunned by the venom in Emily's voice. Wow, you know what, Emily, I almost feel sorry for you. You succeeded in destroying the relationship Sam had with your cousin, but before you could make your move, Paul imprinted on you. You've had to bide your time, waiting for the perfect opportunity again. Too bad I came back, right? Bella took a step forward. I'm only gonna say this once, so you better listen. Sam is mine, my mate, my life. This is my house and you are not welcome. I suggest you leave or I will sick the 4 very pissed off wolves in my kitchen on you. One of whom is your imprint and has heard everything. Don't fuck with me, Emily. I'm not the person you remember from 5 years ago. Emily growled pathetically. This isn't over. Bella slammed the door and turned to look at her mate and friends. She took in the devastated look on Paul's face and moved to him. She placed her hand on his arm, while reaching behind her for Sam. Sam grabbed her hand and walked forward to wrap his arm across her clavicle while she comforted their brother. I'm so sorry, Paul, she said softly. You deserve better. Thanks, kitten. Paul took a deep breath. Leah, we need to phase and show Sam what we heard last night. Sam nodded. Let's go outside. I'll stay here with Bella, Jared offered. Thanks. Once the door shut behind the three of them, Bella sagged against the counter. Jared watched her closely. He knew the situation wasn't easy for her, especially since Emily was at one time her friend. How are you holding up, Bells? She looked up at him, took a deep breath and moved to the fridge. I'm fine, Jelly Bean. She pulled out everything she would need to feed not only her wolf, but her brothers as well. As she assembled large, meaty sandwiches for them, she looked at Jared. I just worry about how the pack will be affected by this. I'm also going to talk to Old Quill. Something needs to be done or that bitch will tear the pack apart. Jared smiled, worrying more for the pack than herself as W. Had made Bella perfect to be the alpha's mate. He admired her strength. Sam watched as Leah and Paul showed him what they had heard coming from Paul's house last night while they were on patrol. She's really losing control, Sam. I'm not a fool, guys. I know this has been going on for a while. I just didn't want to admit it. We still should have told you, Paul. I'm sorry, brother. As alpha, it's my duty to protect my pack, even from its own members. I don't blame you, Sam. However, we need to work together to find a solution. I'm going to send her packing, so we'll all need to be on alert. The pull will get bad for me, but I can fight that. We won't know where she'll be. If you think that's the way to go, Paul, it's your call. We will all support you. Leah nodded her wolfy head in agreement and the three of them phased back, heading back inside Sam's. Once inside, the three men grabbed the lunches Bella had made them, while Leah grinned at her. What? Bella asked, her hands on her hips. Just glad you're here, Bells. I'm glad Sam has you. Bella blushed and shooed the four of them out, pressing a kiss to Sam's cheek as he walked by her. Once they were gone, she picked up the phone and called Angela, who agreed to pick up Kim on her way over. It was time the imprints met and discussed the Emily problem. Kim and Angela stared at Bella with their mouths hanging open. The pair of them had not been totally oblivious to Emily wanting Sam, but they had been completely unaware of her machinations in trying to make him hers. Jesus, poor Paul. Angela frowned. There has to be a way out of this for him. Have you talked to Old Quill yet, Bella? Bella shook her head and looked at Kim. I was going to call him later. As alpha female, Bella, the council will listen to you. Your opinion holds just as much weight as Sam's. Kim told her. Bella nodded. Can you guys answer something for me? After they nodded, she continued, something you said when I got home has been bothering me. Who told you the legend about babies being conceived? Emily did. Angela's eyebrows shot up. You don't think? I do think. Bella nodded. Son of a bitch. Kim swore and pushed away from the table. We've had tea with her weekly at Paul's. She insisted it was a way to bring us imprints closer. Who made the tea? She did. Bella stood and placed her palms on the table. When was the last time? The night before you got home. Angela whispered. Bella did the calculations in her head and knew they didn't have any time to waste. Let's go. I want to get you two to the clinic and draw some blood. The three of them piled into Angela's car as she drove to the clinic. What are you thinking, Bella? There are several natural herbal teas that can be brewed to either prevent pregnancy or cause miscarriage. I'm hoping she's not evil enough for the latter, but I wouldn't put the former past her. With what we know now, I doubt she would have wanted to have Paul's child. By the time Bella started work at the clinic, she had the ball rolling with the elders to see about breaking Paul's imprint and banning Emily from the reservation. Not only was Emily hurting Paul and trying to come between another mated pair, but she had been drugging the other imprints to prevent them from becoming pregnant. She'd even gone so far as to lie about the Quileute legends to make it seem as if the lack of pups was normal. After her visit to the Yulee home that morning, Paul had every intention of going home and telling her to leave. He never got the opportunity, as the moment he walked in his house. He knew she'd left. All of her stuff was missing and she'd even cleaned out the cash box he kept for their bills and groceries. Sam had sent Embry over to his house one day before Bella started her job and had him change all the locks in the house and only leave keys for himself and Bella behind. The pack now only had access to the Alpha's house if he or his mate were home. Slapped some mud on the drywall and ran it down the tape he had placed over the seam. He let out a frustrated sigh as he repeated the steps over and over until the whole wall was done. He turned and watched as Jared and Paul finished their areas. Jared looked at Sam in concern and they both looked at their packmate. Paul looked as though he hadn't slept in weeks. Since Emily had taken off, he probably wasn't sleeping. No one had seen or heard from her in the 3 weeks she'd been gone. Not that anyone was missing her, but they hated wondering what she could be up to. Paul dropped his joint knife in his empty bucket of drywall mud. Are you hanging in there? Paul sighed. I'm trying. The pull of the imprint is painful, but I can deal with that. It's the betrayal itself I'm struggling with. He turned to walk out of the house. I loved her, Sam, and she didn't want me. Sam started, but Jared stopped him. Paul turned back to his Alpha. I don't blame you, Sam. I know you didn't encourage her. We're gonna fix it, Paul. Jared spoke up. You know Bella spoke to the elders and they're looking for a way to break the imprint and then we can banish her. Paul nodded, but didn't comment. Sam looked at both of them and decided their day was over. Let's call it a day and go home. Paul, Bella told me to invite you for dinner. Sounds good. Paul smiled his first smile in weeks. It'll be nice to eat a home-cooked meal. The three of them closed down the job site and then headed their separate ways. Sam and Paul heading off toward his place. Bella left the clinic and headed home, ready to get dinner started and take a shower. She was hoping Paul would be coming home with Sam, as she knew he needed a home-cooked meal and time to relax. She let hers elf into the house and headed straight to the kitchen, preheating the oven and taking out the 2 baking dishes she had prepared that morning. While the oven heated, she began peeling the potatoes so they could begin boiling while she cleaned up. Half an hour later, dinner was cooking and she was walking up the stairs toward her room. When she hit the landing, she heard a rustling coming from across the hall. She knew Sam wasn't home yet, so she slowly pushed open the door to his bedroom. She gasped and covered her mouth at the sight which greeted her. Emily lay in the middle of his bed with her legs spread open, her hand in her pussy, moaning Sam's name. Bella saw red. What the fuck are you doing in my house? Emily's eyes snapped open, but she never removed her hand. I'm waiting for my Sammy. She turned her head and grabbed Sam's pillow, breathing in his scent. Bella growled and launched herself at the woman, grabbing her by the hair and pulling her off the bed. Get off me, Emily screamed. Sam will be home soon and I need to be ready for him. Bella continued to pull her by her hair, not caring about the fact she had no pants on. You're fucking delusional. Get out of my house. She dropped her at the top of the stairs. Emily stood up and turned to attack Bella with a screech. Bella ducked and pushed her away, sending her down the stairs, head over feet. Emily sat there stunned for a moment, but finally stood up and began making her way up the stairs toward Bella. Not one to back down, Bella met her halfway and threw a punch, clocking the half-clothed woman in the jaw. Emily swung back, but Bella blocked her hit with her forearm. Screaming in frustration, Emily launched herself at Bella and the two of them tumbled the rest of the way down the stairs. Bella was he first to recover and grabbed Emily by the hair once more and was dragging her toward the closest set of doors off the kitchen. Somehow, Emily managed to twist herself away and gain her feet. CK led Bella and the pair of them rolled on the floor, with Bella landing punch after punch and Emily only getting in a few hits of her own. Bella had her fist raised and was about to hit her again, when she was yanked away. Fighting back at whoever grabbed her, she only stopped when she heard a familiar voice in her ear. Stop, honey, Sam crooned while he held her in his arms. Bella's chest was even as she tried to regain her breath. She glared at the woman who lay in a heap on the floor, tears making tracks down her face. "Want to tell us what the hell is going on here?" Paul demanded, as he crossed his arms over his imprint. Looking down at her, he felt no desire to help her at all. Sam set Bella back on her feet, but kept her close to him. "Call the police, Sam, I want this bitch arrested. When I got home, after I started dinner, I went upstairs and found her masturbating in your bed." "Fucking bitch." Emily wiped blood from her nose. "You attacked me." "Shut your mouth," Bella growled. "How the hell did you get in here anyway? That's what I'd like to know." Bella turned at the sound of her dad's voice. "Dad," Paul called. Said there was a disturbance. "Polly," Emily whined. "Can it, Emily?" Paul glared at her. "I've had enough. I won't allow you to use me, the imprint or the pack anymore." Charlie nodded to the tribal deputy he'd brought with him. "Arrest her. Then, send someone over to take my daughter's statement." "Yes, sir." The four of them watched as she was handcuffed and taken out to the waiting cruiser. The timer went off on the oven and Bella snapped her head around. "Dinner. I'll get it, kitten." Paul smiled and moved to the kitchen. Sam looked down at Bella, examining her face. She had a split lower lip and a bruise forming on her cheek. "You okay?" Bella nodded and met his eyes. "I'm fine. I'm pissed the fuck off, but I'm fine." Charlie walked in with another tribal officer behind him. "Bella, they need to get your statement." Bella nodded, and led the officer to the living room and sat down. Sam watched her until Charlie cleared his throat. "Sorry, Charlie." Sam looked at him. "What'll happen now? How'd she get in, Sam?" Sam sighed and ran a hand over his face. "I don't know, Chief. I changed the locks a few weeks ago when she kept showing up. The only keys are mine and Bella's." Charlie walked around and checked all the doorknobs and locks, but didn't see any sign of tampering or forced entry. Paul walked back into the dining room and looked at both of them before joining them where they sat at the table. "The screen in the kitchen is missing. I only noticed because the window was open. Bella must not have noticed when she was cooking dinner." Sam looked at Charlie. "What does that mean? If that's the way she got in, we can charge her with residential burglary, maybe assault. But it will be her word against Bella's as far as that goes. The burglary charge can carry a minimum of 3 months in jail. Bella only attacked Emily to defend her home." Sam started before Charlie stopped him. The three of them went silent when the officer and Bella stood up. The officer pulled out his phone and snapped pictures of Bella's face and hands. When he was done, he nodded to Charlie and walked out of the house. Bella took a deep breath and walked into the kitchen, running her hand over Sam's shoulder as she passed. "Dinner will be ready in a few. Dad, you staying?" "No thanks, Bells. Sue is expecting me." He looked at Sam. "Call me if you need anything." "Thanks, Chief." Paul looked at Sam. "I need to go run, Sam. I'll be back later." Sam nodded and stood up, walking to where Bella was furiously smashing potatoes. "Stop, honey." He settled his hands on her shoulders. "Look at me, Bella." She turned and looked up at him. "Talk to me." "She was in your room, Sam. In your bed." Bella pushed him out of the way. "I saw her playing with herself, while sniffing your fucking pillow." Bella picked up a mug from the counter and threw it, watching as it shattered into pieces. "You were my mate, damn it." She pushed her hands in her hair and paced the floor. "I can't deal with this. What the hell is wrong with her? This woman was my friend. Now she is out to hurt my brother and steal the man I love." Sam jolted at hearing her say she loved him and smiled to himself when he realized she hadn't even noticed she'd spoken the words. He continued to let her rant for a few more minutes, until she finally ran out of steam and turned to look at him. "You done?" He smirked at her, sighing. She nodded. "I'm sorry, Sam." Walking to his imprint, he picked her up and carried her to the bathroom, sitting her on the side of the sink. He wet a washcloth and held her chin gently, while he dabbed at her bloody lip. "Emily is gone for now. You've got the elders looking to see if there is a way for Paul to break the imprint and then banish her from our lands. He rinsed the cloth and leaned on the sink, his arms on either side of her hips. Reaching up, he brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. For now, though, I would like to talk about something you said during your little tirade. He lifted her off the sink, setting her on her feet and pulling her to the living room. Sitting on the couch, he guided her down onto his lap. Now, would you like to tell me something? Because I have plenty to tell you. Bella thought back over the words she had spewed during her crazy ranting and felt her cheeks heat up when she realized what she had confessed. Oh, Sam, I'm sorry. Sorry for what, honey? Letting it slip? No. Bella readjusted herself on his lap, moving so she was straddling his legs. No, I don't regret the words, just the manner in which I said them. Placing her hands on his cheeks, she looked into his dark brown eyes. I love you, Sam. I don't know when it happened, whether it was yesterday or last week or even 5 years ago, I just know that I feel whole when I'm with you. Taking care to avoid her injured lip, Sam leaned forward and pressed his lips to hers. The current he felt whenever his skin connected to hers was nothing compared to the spark he felt when he kissed her. They had slowly begun to be more affectionate with each other, but no kiss he'd ever been a part of touched his very soul. I love you, Bella. He leaned away and met her eyes. I think I've loved you since I found you in the woods after Cullen left you. I'm so glad you're the one I imprinted on. Paul walked into the house as Bella was finishing putting dinner on the table. He could immediately tell Somit. Thing had changed between the two of them. He wished he had someone like Bella, but the only way that would happen would be if he imprinted on her. That was something that would never happen again, he was sure. Sit down, Paul. I'll get you a beer, Bella ordered. Paul sat and looked at his alpha. We need to call a meeting, Sam. We need to bring in the pack, the imprints and the elders, probably the whole council. And we need to do it tonight. Sam nodded. I agree. After we eat, I'll make the calls. You can help me. Bella set beers before the pair of them and sat down with her own drink. Sam made her plate and set it in front of her. When she smiled at him in thanks, he and Paul gave themselves heaping portions. Bella was quiet as they ate, while Sam and Paul talked about anything but the large elephant in the room. When everyone was done, Sam and Paul went to make calls while Bella got everything cleaned up. Without anyone being underfoot, she was done in no time and had the dishwasher humming. She grabbed a Diet Pepsi from the fridge and went out to the porch to sit on the swing. That's where Sam found her. You okay, honey? She smiled up at him. I'm fine. When's the meeting? In half an hour. We're going to the tribal center since the council will be involved as well as everyone else. I think it's a more appropriate setting. I'll go get changed then. Bella stood up and walked to him, wrapping her arms around his waist and soaking up his warmth. We'll get through this, Sam. Sam ran his hands down her back and through her long chestnut locks. I love you, Bella. Looking up at him, she rested her chin on his chest. I love you, too. Sam stroked her cheek and planted a soft kiss to her lips before letting her walk inside the house. He leaned against one of the posts on the porch staring in the direction of the beach. When Paul joined him, he didn't say anything. He knew his friend would speak when he was ready. What are we missing, Sam? There has to be nothing wrong with Emily that has caused her to become this woman. Sam was silent for a while before looking at Paul. Without saying anything, he turned to the door and walked to it. Bella, Paul and I will be right back. He heard her yell back and walked off the porch. Come with me. Paul followed his alpha into the woods and watched as he phased into his black wolf. A bark from Sam indicated that he should phase as well. Once his silver wolf sat before his leader, Sam opened his memories to before he phased and after, but just before Paul imprinted on Emily. He allowed his friend to see that while Emily's behavior wasn't new, it had escalated slowly. When they phased back, Sam finally spoke. I think Bella coming home and my imprinting on her was the final straw. I fully believe that Emily needs professional help. I worry she will hurt not just my mate, but also you or even me. Hopefully these charges Charlie was talking about will stick and we can work on getting her away from the pack. I don't think it will be enough though. Paul nodded. I don't either, Sam. Honestly, I think if she's in jail for any length of time, it will only give her more time to plot. It could be the calm before the storm. We'll just have to stay vigilant. They arrived back at Sam's and found Bella locking up the house and turning to wait for them. She had changed into jeans and a flannel shirt. Her long hair hung down her back in waves. Despite the bruise on her face and her split lip, she was still the most beautiful woman Sam had ever seen. Ready, she smiled as she joined the two of them, lacing her fingers with Sam's. Paul, Bella and Sam were the last to arrive. Gasps sounded from around the room when everyone saw Bella's face. Sue rushed forward, her nurse's hat in place. Bella, are you okay? Smiling, I'm fine. No broken bones, just a few bumps and bruises. Honestly, I've had worse from tripping over air. As long as you're sure. You know Doc Redfeather wouldn't mind checking you out. I'm fine, Sue. She looked at everyone else. Shall we get started? Sam took his place with the rest of the council, as Paul led Bella to a chair beside Jacob. The mate of one of our pack is threatening another mated pair. Billy began. Tonight she broke into their home and was caught performing an unspeakable act. When she was confronted, the Alpha's imprint was harmed. This will not be tolerated. Wolf Lahote, we have found a way to sever your imprint on Miss Young. Is this still your wish? Old Quill spoke from his seat beside Sam. Paul stood. Yes, I no longer wish to be tied to someone who would hurt my sister, my pack or myself. So it is not for selfish reasons that you request this. No, I also ask this as a way to protect Emily. My wolf hates her and I fight him every day not to hurt her. I fear we will kill her if she remains anywhere near us. Paul was honest with the council. Emily really needed to go. Very well. Old Quill motioned him forward and held out a ceremonial cup. It was painted with the forest as the background and shadows of wolves as the foreground. Drink this, close your eyes and make your request to the spirits. If they believe your words to be true, you will feel the bonds to Emily Young breaking. The pack and imprints behind him joined hands, all saying silent prayers to Taha Aki that Paul would be freed from his toxic imprint, thus freeing the pack. Paul brought the cup to his lips and swallowed down the contents. He gagged once but closed his eyes and lifted his head to the spirits, speaking quietly. Please release me from my bonds. Help me to find peace. No sooner had the words left his lips, did he hit his knees clutching his chest. Jacob and Embry ran forward to their fallen brother. Paul. Jacob looked at him. Paul met his eyes. It worked. The bonds tying me to Emily are gone. Just as they were helping him to his feet, Charlie walked through the double doors. Is everything all right in here? The tribal Il just called and said that their current resident is screaming in agony. Bitch deserves more than that, Leah muttered. Paul has broken his imprint, Charlie. Billy explained to his oldest friend. Ah, Charlie nodded in understanding. That'll make for an interesting evening. Sam stood up and cleared his throat. Emily's ties to this pack are gone. She is no longer welcome on this reservation. Once her time has been served, whatever that may be, she will need to leave and never return. Do you really think that will be the end of it, Sam? Quill wanted to know. I don't know. Her behavior, or as of late leads me to believe that no, it will not be. Sam looked at his pack. We'll be on our guard. She knows tribal secrets, she will have to be threatened to keep silent. Given her state of mind, we haven't heard the end of her. If there is nothing further, Billy began closing the meeting. Actually, Billy, Bella stood up before the council. With the council's permission, I would to ask that everyone present please check all of your cabinets for any and all teas, herbal or otherwise, and bring them to me at the clinic. For what purpose? I discovered recently that Emily was slowly poisoning 2 of the imprints and perhaps even Leah with specially brewed tea. She was preventing them from becoming pregnant. What? Jared and Jacob roared in unison. Are you sure? Yes. I conducted the tests myself and recently received the results. Bella explained her findings and Sue was able to corroborate what she was saying was true. I would also like to respectfully ask for access to the tribal scrolls. Emily was able to make the pack believe that no child would be conceived until the alpha imprinted. I can't even comprehend how ridiculous that is, but she had to have gleaned the information from somewhere. When you are not working at the clinic or bonding with your mate, I will be happy to go over the scrolls with you, Isabella. Old Quill smiled at her. He had a fondness for the young woman as she reminded him of his beloved Molly. Thank you, Quilly. She winked at him. Billy chuckled at the blush on the old man's cheeks. If there is nothing else, then I am officially closing the meeting. Have a good night. The pack and imprints filed out. Kim, Bella and Angela stood off to the side as the pack horsed around in celebration of Paul's freedom. Do you think he'll imprint again? Kim wondered. I'm sure there is someone perfect for him out there just waiting for him to notice her. Angela smiled, before a frown marred her features. Is what Emily did to us going to cause any problems? Bella shook her head. I see no reason why. You're both perfectly healthy. When the time comes, I'll be there every step of the way. Sam walked up then and put his arm around her waist. You ready? Smiling up at him. Yeah. Let's go home. After hugging her friends and promising Leah lunch, she and Sam walked hand in hand back to their house. Once they walked in the house, Bella ran up the stairs and straight to Sam's room. She immediately stripped everything off his bed and threw it over the stair railing. She followed it down and separated things to be loaded in the washing machine. Honey, can you go in your room and see what else smells like her, please? Bella asked Sam as he followed her with his eyes in confusion. Sure. He went up the stairs two at a time and stopped in the doorway. Bella, I can't go in there. Her stink permeates the whole space. Bella walked up the stairs and groaned. That's what I was afraid of. Ducking under his arm, she walked in the room, straight to the window and threw it open. What do you need out of here besides your clothes for work? There are some sleep pants in the second drawer. I guess if I'm bunking on the couch I'll need those. If we shut the door and leave the window open all night, I should be able to go in there in the morning. You're not bunking on the couch, Sam. You're too tall for that. I think we can control ourselves for one night, don't you? Bella turned to face him. Bella. She walked out of his room, pulling the door shut behind them. You'll stay with me. Sam groaned at T. He thought of holding her all night long. He wasn't sure he would be able to keep himself in check. I trust you, Sam. Bella placed her palms on his cheeks. I love you, but I'm not ready yet. Trust me, you'll know when I am. She reached up to kiss his cheek. Although, that doesn't mean you have to be a complete gentleman, she teased as she walked away from him. Sam was right behind her, picking her up and gently tossing her down on the bed. Bella giggled as she bounced on the mattress. Not a gentleman, huh? Sam lowered his body down so he was laying half on her, half off. He pressed his lips to hers, momentarily forgetting about her injury, until she whimpered. You know we can heal that. How? You'd have to trust me, implicitly. I do, Sam. I love you, both of you. Sam stew. D from the bed and without taking his eyes off Bella, stripped and phased into his wolf. It was a good thing his house had plenty of space. Bella reached forward and ran her hand over his wolf's muzzle and down his neck. Hey, boy, you gonna make me all better. With a whine, the wolf leaned forward and ran his tongue gently along Bella's lower lip, once then twice. He then turned to her bruised cheek and did the same thing. Bella felt a tingling sensation and then nothing but warmth. She touched her lip and could tell the wound was gone. The wolf melded back into the man before her eyes. Thank you. Not speaking, Sam leaned forward and kissed her like he'd wanted since they imprinted. His lips were soft and smooth as they pressed to hers. She felt his tongue sweep her lower lip, begging for entrance, which she gladly gave and wrestled her tongue with his. Bella wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him closer to her, wrapping her legs around his waist. Sam lifted her and laid both on the bed as they continued to explore each other's mouths. They broke apart when oxygen became an issue, but Sam's lips never left her skin. She moaned when he sucked on the pulse point of her neck and ran her hand down the column of his spine to his naked ass, digging her nails in as he nipped at a particularly sensitive spot. Sam came out in a breathless moan. "What do you want, Bella?" He sat up and met her eyes. "Touch me, Sam." Without hesitation, he ripped her shirt from her body, making her shiver at his strength. He watched as her nipples hardened beneath their lace covering. Ingen couldn't resist wrapping his lips around a hardened peak, causing her back to arch and bring him closer to her. Reaching behind her, he unclasped her bra and drew it from her body, tossing it across the room. He moved his mouth to her other breast, lavishing it with the same attention as the first. Bella was writhing below him and he had barely begun his exploration. He moved down her torso, his lips leaving a trail to her navel. He nibbled on the sensitive flesh of her stomach as his hands reached for the fastenings of her jeans and deftly opened them with one hand. Her moans spurred him on. His tongue dipped below the line of her panties as he grasped the sides of both garments and tugged them down her legs. The smell of her arousal was driving both him and his wolf crazy with need, and his hard cock was weeping. When he had the rest of her clothes off, he began kissing, nipping and sucking his way up to the apex of her thighs, all while keeping his eyes on hers. "I need to taste you, baby." Sam looked up at her from his place between her legs. Reaching down, Bella ran her hand through his hair and spread her legs a little wider to cradle his broad form. "Please, Sam." Leaning forward, Sam ran his tongue from the bottom of her slit to the top, causing Bella to arch her back until she was almost bent in half. The moan which escaped her lips wasn't quite human, but was music to his ears. Sam concentrated his attention on her swollen nub, trading long licks and nibbles to her tender, wet flesh. Bella released a low moan when she felt him press one of his long, warm digits into her center. Sam could tell she was close as he walls spasmed around his finger, so he added a second and pumped them in time with his tongue on her clit. Her hips began moving with him, and he felt her walls flutter and then tighten around his fingers as a gush of liquid poured from her. He lapped up all she offered as she screamed his name with her climax. He continued his ministrations until she relaxed into the bed. Sam crawled up to her, pressing his face to her sweaty neck as her breathing became normal. He felt her shift and lifted his head to look in her eyes. "That was amazing. You taste incredible, baby," he murmured against her lips. "I could have stayed there all night." What about you?" Sam shook his head. "Tonight was about you. We have plenty of time." He gently lifted her in his arms and pulled the covers down and then back over them. Bella snuggled into his side, sighing as she relaxed against him. "I think I could get used to sleeping next to you." Sam clutched her closer. "Me too. Honey, me too." Charlie had his head in his hands, while he sat at his desk begging for a reprieve from screaming which had continued the entire night. Ever since Paul had broken his imprint, Emily had been either crying hysterically, screaming like a banshee, or yelling threats against his daughter. "Something has to be done about her, Chief. The occupants of the other cells are complaining." Mark, his deputy, fell into the chair in front of his desk. "Last I checked, this wasn't the Hilton, Mark. I don't give a shit if they're complaining. They committed a crime and so did that woman." Nodding, Mark stood up and left the office, shaking his head in annoyance as the screaming greeted his ears once more. Charlie was fed up. They had tried talking to her, Reed telling her she was just making the situation worse for herself. Hell, he'd even threatened to put her in a padded cell, which he thought was exactly where she belonged. Something was broken in that woman's head. He had one more idea he was going to try, but if that failed, he was calling for a psychiatric evaluation and hold. Picking up his phone, he dialed his daughter's number and prayed it wasn't the wrong thing to do. Bella's phone ringing woke Sam earlier than he wanted to be awake. Without thinking about it, he reached across his sleeping mate and grabbed the offending object. "Hello." His voice was gravely with sleep. "Sam." Charlie's voice came over the line. "Morning, Chief. What's up?" Bella groaned and rolled over, snuggling back into Sam's side. He draped his arm around her and ran his hand through her dark tresses. I need Bella to come to the station, actually both of you. How soon can you be here? Sam lifted his head and looked at Bella's bedside clock, which read 7 in the morning. Give us an hour and we'll be there. Thanks, Sam. Oh, and can you grab Paul too? After agreeing to bring him, Sam turned his face into Bella's hair. Why was he calling? Sam sighed. Judging by what I heard in the background, I'd say Emily is driving them nuts. Bella groaned. I don't want to see her, Sam. And I definitely don't want you near her. How about I'll drive and hang with the chief, while you and Paul handle it? Fine. Bella growled and moved to get up, but was pulled back down by her wolf. I told him to give us an hour. Sam smiled and leaned down to kiss her. Bella pushed him back and turned her head. No, Sam. Morning breath. He gently grasped her chin and pulled her face to his. I don't care. He leaned down to kiss her again, not giving her room to protest. Bella wrapped her arms around him, pulling him closer as he deepened the kiss and tangled their tongues together. He ran his hand down her side and back up before cupping her breast, causing her to moan. Sam. Bella broke their kiss. We can't. Sam groaned and pressed his forehead to hers, willing his erection away. I know. Look at me, honey. Bella waited until he opened his eyes and looked at her. We will continue this later. For now let's go see what Dad needs. They crawled out of bed and headed to the shower. I'll go start the coffee while you get cleaned up. Bella looked at him over her shoulder, noticing that her nudity was still affecting him. You could always join me. Sam groaned and leaned his head against the door jamb as she started the water in the shower. His feet started to move before he was aware, and he was in the shower with her before he'd consciously made the decision. Sam grabbed the soap and lathered up his hands before moving them to Bella's body and washing her from top to bottom. He paid special attention to her breasts and the smooth globes of her ass. He avoided the one place he wanted to touch, but knew if he felt the wetness he could smell. They'd never get to the station. Bella turned and rinsed her hair, allowing the suds Sam had applied to her to wash away as she grabbed the soap to return the favor. As she scrubbed her soap-covered hands over his abs, she looked down and saw his cock, long and standing proudly at attention. Remembering the pleasure he had brought her, she sank to her knees before him. With her eyes on Sam's, she grasped his rigid length and brought it to her lips, pressing a kiss to the mushroom head. Sam groaned when he watched her pink tongue trace the vein which ran along the underside of his shaft. When she sucked his entire length into her mouth, he just about came unglued. He realized then that his mate had no gag reflex and could fit nearly his entire cock in her mouth until he felt the back of her throat. Bella moved her head back and forth over his shaft as he grasped the hair at the back of her head, pressing her closer. Along with the movements of her head and the pressure of her tongue, she was cupping his balls and bringing his orgasm closer to the surface. Fuck, Bella, I'm close. Sam moaned, almost growling. Bella hollowed out her cheeks and increased the suction around his engorged cock. She moaned when she felt him tighten his grip on her hair. The vibrations from her throat brought forth his orgasm and he shot his cum in her mouth, growling her name. As she swallowed around him, taking everything he gave her, Sam panted and loosened his grip on her hair as she cleaned him up, releasing him with a pop. Jesus, baby. Bella rose from her knees and reached up to kiss his lips. Love you, Sam. Love you, too. You're amazing. They finished their shower and got ready to go see what Charlie needed from them. I'm sorry, I don't think I heard correctly. Bella put her hands on her hips as she faced her father. You want Sam to do what? I need him to calm her down, Bells. Forget it, Dad. He is not going anywhere near that psychotic bitch. Shaw. Rlie pinched the bridge of his nose between his thumb and his forefinger. He knew when he took over for the retiring sheriff on the res that his life would be different. When he found out about the pack and the truth about the Cullens, it was a guarantee. His daughter being the imprint to the Alpha was a different matter entirely. Bella, please, Charlie pleaded. You can hear her out here. Yeah, and it could be a ploy for attention. That's what she does. Bella paced around her dad's office. I will not allow you to use Sam, the reason behind her behavior, to calm her down. The fact that you even asked pisses me off. Sam stood up and wrapped his arms around her. Stop, honey, he pressed a kiss to her temple. I'm sorry, Charlie, I can't help with this one. Not just because it would upset Bella, but because I frankly don't care how much she screams. She broke into our house and attacked my mate. She doesn't deserve my sympathy. Nodding, I understand. Paul, what about you? Shrugging. A well-rested looking Paul looked at his alpha and then to Charlie. I'll talk to her, Chief, but I doubt it will help. The imprint is broken, that's probably why she's hysterical, she can feel it. I'm going with him, Bella announced. Bella, Charlie sighed, I don't think that would be wise. Too bad, I wasn't asking for permission. I need to see if she has any injuries anyway. Lord, how did I get such a headstrong daughter? Charlie muttered, causing Sam to laugh. Shaking his head, he stood up and led the two of them toward the sound of a still screaming Emily. Through there, he pointed and then let them through the door. Paul and Bella stopped before her cell. Emily was sitting against the wall, clutching her chest and rocking back and forth, as she cried. Paul crossed his arms over his chest while Bella rolled her eyes. Give me a fucking break, she mumbled under her breath, knowing Paul was the only one who could hear her. As the pair of them stood observing the seemingly distraught woman, Bella noticed the wall behind her head had blood on it. Moving closer, she watched as every time Emily rocked back, she banged her head on the concrete wall behind her. The longer she observed, the harder Emily hit her head. Finally, Bella nudged Paul and indicated for him to follow her back to Charlie's office. Well? Charlie asked as they closed the door. Paul shook his head, while Bella went to the phone on her dad's desk. The three men watched her in silence. Sue, is Doc Redfeather in? Sure. Bella, hang on. There was some shuffling on the line, then she heard a new voice. Bella, is everything all right? I actually need some advice. I need to sedate a person who is showing signs that she is a risk to herself. However, as I have a personal stake in this, IWOU. LD prefer if you could come to the jail and do it yourself. Would you be able to come immediately? Of course, I'll be there in 5 minutes. The line disconnected and Bella looked at her dad. You need to get her on her bed and restrain her. Bella, what's going on? Charlie was instantly on his feet, concern taking over his features. She sighed. When Paul and I were back there, Emily was mumbling to herself and rocking back and forth. It was on her backward motions I noticed she was hitting her head on the wall. I saw blood on it, Dad. She's doing harm to herself and that can't be allowed. Regardless of how I or anyone else feels. Well, shit, Charlie muttered as he walked out of his office to grab 2 of his deputies. When he returned he was breathless and rubbing his temples. She has a set of lungs on her. That's for sure. Just as he sat down, Doc Redfeather walked into the station house. Bella left the office and quickly explained what she saw, and the pair of them headed back to the holding area. Grabbing an officer to make sure they didn't do anything untoward, they watched as Emily struggled against her restraints and immediately indicated for the officer to open her cell and let them in. Miss Young, you must be still. You're doing more damage to yourself by fighting. Emily stared at them with unseeing eyes. It's broken, were the only words she spoke, repeating them over and over. Bella knew she was talking about Paul and the imprint. Not wanting to cause further issues, although she felt no sympathy for the woman who thrashed before them, she nodded to the doctor. She watched as he pulled a liquid-filled syringe from his pocket and, after swiping her arm with an alcohol pad he also had, plunged the needle in her flesh and pushed the drug into her system. Bella, I know this is a difficult situation for you. Go ahead and leave, dear, the officer can assist me if I need it. Doc Redfeather knew of the issues with the alpha's mate and the prone woman before him. Being in the know about the pack sometimes came with being put in difficult positions. This being one of them. Are you He turned from the patient. Yes. Bella, I wouldn't ask you to treat someone who has tried to harm you. That is what Emily has done. Now go and tell your father what is going on. Nodding, Bella walked out of the cell, back to her father's office and quickly filled him in. She hadn't shut the door once she was inside, so she turned to Sam. I'm ready to go. Sam and Paul stood up and the three of them turned to leave, but Charlie stopped them before they could get out the door. Bella, she snapped her head back in her father's direction. I love you, Dad, but you put us, me, in a difficult position today. Don't ever ask me or Sam to come calm down that psychotic bitch again. I could have very nearly put my job in jeopardy because I could give two shits whether Emily lives or dies. Be glad I had the presence of mind to call Doc Redfeather. Without letting him say a word, she left the station, Sam and Paul on her heels. Sam had been relatively silent the entire time they were at the station and Paul hadn't said much either. Both men had been surprised by the chief's request. Paul because he wanted nothing to do with his former lover, and Sam because he knew it would, and apparently did, hurt his mate. After they dropped Paul off at his house and they were once again at their own, Sam spoke. Talk to me, honey. What do you want me to say, Sam? I'm upset that my dad asked this of you, of us. She sighed and looked at him. Moreover, I'm upset with myself because I don't care that she was hurting herself. I took an oath, Sam, I may not be a physician, but I still made a vow. She is making me question myself and I hate her for it. Shish. He climbed out of the car and walked toward the beach. Sam watched her go and followed at a safe distance, at a loss for how to solve this for her. Emily had opened Pandora's box and he could feel that more trouble was on the horizon. He just wished he knew what and when it was coming. Bella sat in the sand and stared out over the waves as they crashed to shore. She hated the thoughts running through her head, but more than that, she hated the reason they were there. When she'd gone to nursing school and then on to become a nurse practitioner, she did so with the goal of helping people. She never thought about taking what she'd learned and using it to hurt someone. Until Emily. She felt someone sit on either side of her and looked to see Kim and Angela had joined her. What are you guys doing here? Sam called us. Angela answered. Kim continued. He said he figured you could use some girl time. I really could. So how are you gonna distract me? For the next hour, the three of them talked about their plans for the future. Kim told them now that Emily couldn't harm her anymore, she and Jared had decided to start trying for a baby. Angela confirmed her and Jacob's talks had been running along similar lines. But they were also talking about getting married first. Bella stood up and brushed the sand from her pants. I need to go home. I need to be with Sam for a while. Angela hugged her friend. We know today was hard on you, sweetie. We're here for you whenever you need us, Bella. Kim smiled and hugged her as well. Imprints have to stick together. The three of them went their separate ways, each heading to their respective homes. When Bella walked into the house, Sam was on his feet and had her in his arms before she could speak. Are you okay? He pulled back to look at her with his own eyes. Bella placed her hand on his chest, over his beating heart. I'm fine, honey. Thanks for sending Kim and Aang, they really helped. The ringing phone prevented further conversation as Bella moved to answer it. Hello, Bella. Dr. Redfeather's voice came through the line. Nathan, what can I do for you? Sam walked over to her when he heard the doc's voice, knowing it would have something to do with Emily. I spoke with a colleague at the Cascade Behavioral Health Center in Seattle. They have admitted Emily into their inpatient program. Your father spoke with the judge and then the staff there. She will serve out her 3-month sentence for breaking into your home there. Hopefully she will get the help she needs. Hopefully. Thanks for letting me know, Nathan. I'll let everyone else know as well. She hung up and looked at Sam. You heard him. Yeah. He pulled her into his arms. She's gone. Bella laid her head on his chest and wrapped her arms around his waist. For now. She looked up at him, resting her chin on his chest. We need to have a pack meeting. The pack had taken the news of Emily's commitment in stride. Of course they were all concerned they would be discovered, but it was decided to deal with that if or when it happened. Over the next week, things had calmed down and everyone went about their routines. Bella worked at the clinic, even delivering a baby for one of the families on the res. When she wasn't working or with Sam, she was with Old Quill, deciphering the scrolls and putting them in a computer file to be organized later. "Look at this one, Quilly." Bella handed the elder the delicate scroll. "I think this is where Emily got her information from." Adjusting his glasses on the end of his nose, he read over the legend. It says that the strongest wolves will have the first and strongest pups. It even specifies which descendants these pups will come from. It seems that though she misinterpreted the legend, she was in a way correct. The Yuli, Black and Atira lines will have the first and strongest pups as they were part of the original pack. Bella thought about it for a moment and then looked at the old man next to her. Over the years, centuries, what have you, the familial lines have blended. Think about it, Jared's family are descendants of the Black line, as are the Clearwaters. Halls and Embreys are from the Yuli and the younger wolves are from the Atira line. So really, any of the boys could have pups with their imprints. Old Quill looked at her in surprise. "You are right, young one." Emile, why misconstrued the legends to fit her own purposes? His eyes took on a twinkle and he smiled at her in amusement. "Who do you think will be first?" Bella laughed. "Jared and Kim are the ones actively trying, so perhaps they will. I look forward to finding out." They worked for another half hour before Bella headed home to get dinner ready. When she walked in their house, she groaned. She saw dirt, white plates and things strewn everywhere and knew Jake and Quill had been there. "Son of a bitch," she growled as she looked at the mess. Walking into her kitchen, she immediately began stacking the dishes, so she could load the dishwasher and wash what didn't fit. Then she changed her mind. She moved to the door, ripped it open and whistled once she was on the front porch. She wasn't surprised to see Jared walk out of the woods in wolf form. "Hey, Jelly Bean, are you the only one on patrol?" She grinned when he shook his wolfy head. "I want Jake and Quill in front of me in 3 minutes. Make it happen, Jar. And while you're at it, get the others too. Tell them I'm pissed." 3 minutes later, all the wolves stood before Bella. Shaking her head, she pointed at all of them, phase. Before she could blink, there were 9 very naked men and 1 naked woman before her. Putting her hands on her hips, "I am not your fucking maid. I don't mind cooking meals for all of you, or leaving something quick for you to grab. However, I will not clean up after you when I have worked all day or worked with Old Quill. The mess I came home to is unacceptable and I know it was you, Jake, and you too, Quill. Get your cutoffs on. Get in there and clean up your mess." Sam, Paul, Jared and Leah were trying to fight their laughter at the looks on Jake and Quill's faces. It wasn't until they were in the house that the 4 of them lost the battle. But they quickly sobered when they caught Bella's ire. Sam pulled on his cutoffs and approached his upset mate. "Are you having a bad day, honey?" "No, I was having a great day until I walked through the door. It's ridiculous, Sam. Had I known I would be dealing with this shit, I wouldn't have let you pass out keys again. I mean, how can 2 guys who don't even live here make that big of a mess?" Wanting to see what she was talking about, Sam walked through the door and saw Jake and Quill in the kitchen, but a mess was still strewn throughout the living room. He understood why she was so pissed. He decided he was going to have to issue an alpha order just to keep his mate happy and their house clean. "Listen up." Sam's voice reverberated through the house to the outside. "You will respect Bella's and my home. You will clean up after yourselves. Our house better never look this way again." The pack all showed Sam their necks as a show of capitulation. Nodding when he had their agreement, he looked at Bella and offered her his hand. "All of you get the hell out of here. I'm taking my mate out." After they had both changed, Sam drove them to Port Angeles. To 48 Degrees North Waterfront Restaurant and Bar. The restaurant had recently been remodeled and the pair had been eager to try it out. The waterfront view was the perfect backdrop for them to have a private evening to themselves. Once they'd finished, Sam suggested a walk along the pier. They hadn't been walking long when Sam finally spoke. "There's something I need to discuss with you, but I need you to keep an open mind." "What is it?" "I've been hearing some things when we're all phased together. Things that I've had to think about carefully." "Sam, you're scaring me." Bella stopped and grabbed his arm, pulling him to a halt with her. "It's nothing bad, per se. One of the wolves is having some less than sisterly thoughts about you. When I say I've been thinking carefully, it's because I needed to know how my wolf would react. Amazingly enough, there is only acceptance coming from him." Bella shook her head. "You're telling me that another pack member has feelings for me?" He nodded. "And your wolf is okay with this?" Another nod. "Who? I can't tell you that, honey. While I think you deserve to know, I also think they deserve to tell you if that's what they want to do." Bella was silent for a moment, taking in the thought. "What about us, Sam? I love you. I know, as I love you. If this is ever revealed, we will have to talk, all three of us." Bella shook her head and wrapped her arms around his waist. "Why isn't anything ever easy?" Sam knew it was rhetorical, so he just pressed his lips to her hair and hugged her tighter. "See you in the next part of this fiction. Till then, take care, bye bye."